1838. Boston founded the first American police department with the goal of enforcing the law, investigating crime, and protecting the community. 1960s, an era of police reform. Perceptions of the police initiated violence on a national scale in the form of riots. This prompted many internal changes within police departments across America. Rules regarding deadly force were written down, which for many departments was a new process. Police became accountable, more trustworthy, and better supervised. They became more community-oriented, more in tune with what the public thought and wanted and needed. 2016. Riots of all sorts are not uncommon occurrences in the present. Every day, police are being targeted and killed. People have lost trust in the institution designed to protect and serve. And we're here to explain why. The reputation of the police today has been besmirched by the media. Police officers are a target of hate, now symbols of misconduct and abuse of authority. Evidence of their goodness and humanity have been taken over by clips of supposed propriety. Many times, however, the clips that are made viral on the internet and seen by millions do not show the full story. Situations in which police supposedly abuse their power are often an hour long. The clip itself is only a few minutes. The media has been using selective filming to make it seem as though the police are mindless, irrational men and women who use force to detain and arrest without good reason. An instance of selective filming is the case of the UC Davis pepper spray incident on November 18, 2011.
Here you see innocent students protesting tuition hikes at their university. Now you see an officer pepper spraying them because they refuse to move out of the way. This short clip indicates that they gave no prior warning. However, the entire story says otherwise. Starting since Thursday, students set up an encampment to protest rising tuition rates. This is against school policy, so the chancellor, Linda Katahi, ordered campus police to handle the situation. The protesters were asked politely to leave on multiple occasions, but continually became more aggressive about their demonstration and refused to leave. They were asked several times to take down their tents by 3 p.m. and warned that those who didn't would be arrested.
This is your last warning. Should you choose to remain, you do so understanding that a peace officer shall place you under arrest for violation of the law.
At 3 p.m., those who didn't leave were arrested. The students then began protesting for the release of their fellow students, instead of their original cause, rising tuition rates. They eventually surrounded the police who were trying to leave by then sitting down and linking arms. The students refused to let them leave until they released those who were arrested.
Stop your vehicle!
They were given multiple warnings before action would be taken to remove them, at which point they were justly pepper sprayed and forcefully removed.
Situations such as these lead to the misunderstanding of police action and cause premature hate against the police. The person who recorded the clip cut the video short and put it out of context to create shock value, which grabs the attention of the people and causes a flawed perspective of the police. Videos such as the first one represents the police in an inaccurate way to make them the enemy when their job is to serve and protect the people. People indeed believe what they see, although what they see is only a mere piece of the picture.
Crimes against the police have increased since media began focusing on police misconduct. Based on 2000 to 2016 statistics, a mathematical model concluded that the problem of attacks directed towards the police is growing exponentially. Police on-duty death by intentional gunfire is a reasonable way to measure deadly attacks on police because it does not factor in accidental or otherwise preventable deaths. We plotted the percentages of purposeful gunfire deaths in relation to total deaths on a graph, then ran a regression to match the data. Using that estimate, we calculated the approximate number of gunfire deaths. Based off the data we collected, the police percentage of intentional gunfire deaths is growing exponentially and is already at almost 50% in 2016. A poll that we recently generated has a result of approximately 60% of students attending Round Rock High School believing that officers racially profile, although 20% believe that cops are racist. Most people believe that police brutality is a race matter. However, these people need to recognize that people racially profile, not just the police. And because police are people, there will always be some that racially profile, although not all. Approximately 60% of the students who took our survey believed that the use of force protocol should be changed. When we asked if they knew what the use of force protocol was, they said that they didn't know. Many people base their biased perspective of the police off of a limited knowledge of what is really happening. Despite their beliefs, however, the majority of the students, approximately 90%, believe that the United States would not be safer and better without the police, and almost all believe that police should exist. In the end, nearly everybody believes that police is necessary. According to our poll results, a significant portion of people do not trust the police, an institution designed to keep them safe. This is no surprise, given that the media is constantly bombarding our eyes and ears with stories of cops designed to spark outrage in the community. We never seem to stop seeing the latest 3-second viral video of a police officer using force. We never seem to stop hearing that the police are bad, that they're wrong and racist. Take the well-known, eloquently titled song, F the Police, for example. This particularly vulgar phrase has been adopted by popular culture, with the sentiments expressed in the lyrics becoming popular cries, "Fuck the police! From Davis to Greece!" and even more popular graffiti with today's youth.
Okay, so my opinion is that the police have been acting the same way they've always been acting. It's just that since lately the social media's become such a big deal and such a big thing, people always have their cameras out.
How do you two feel about the police?
I feel that the white ones can be very racial sometimes when it comes to blacks due to the internet.
So how do you feel about the police?
Well, there's been a lot of, shootings recently that were unjustified, and they still haven't justified them or just shot people for random reasons. I believe that if you encounter something of violence, you can always talk it out, and they should put a priority in talking it out. They should, know when to use force a lot better, instead of just seeing someone randomly, suspicious looking and then instantly pull a gun on them.
Well, I think police gang up on African Americans because there's so many cases where they're police officers will beat African Americans, and there's no cases where a police officer beats a white person.
I feel like all of the lives matter, but regardless of their color, if they're a criminal and they're black or they're white or Mexican or whatever, they should be given the punishment that the police deem, and if they're a risk to the police life, then they should be free to take their life if that means their safety or the safety of the people, of the citizens.
I'm intimidated by police officers, but I think generally I feel safe.
I think change that could be made is when hiring new police officers, get them through more hard training to make sure they actually know what they're doing and they're not just gonna randomly shoot someone.
Do you know what the requirements are to be a police officer?
No, I do not.
My name is Lynn Albright. I'm a retired Dallas police officer. I am teaching the law classes at Round Rock High School.
My name is Rigo Valles. I worked with Round Rock for, I guess it's going to be 16 years in September.
My name is Jason Brannis. I've been a school resource officer for 3 years. I've been a police officer for 10 years. I think a lot of times with the kind of headlines you're seeing in the news, people start to get a bad impression of the police based off of one person's actions.
Is there a media bias against police?
Most definitely. But that's what sells, so that's what it's going to be like. I guess that's the trend now, or the stereotype, however you want to call it, but yes, there is media bias.
What do you think is most unfair about how the media represents your work?
It doesn't give the full story of what happens.
There is always going to be a bias. It's usually pro-police or anti-police. It will rotate every 5 to 10 years.
Why do you think it does that?
It's usually what's happening in the communities. We have the financial issues, we have the racial issues.
That the media portrays only a certain part, and really there's always more to the story than what the media gives out.
I think it's unfair to the people involved. I don't think that without having the whole story, and I'll use Rigo's deal from the school, for instance, that thing went all over the place. That was all over the news. That was on CNN, and it was big news. But it was like a 3-second video clip. Officer chokes student, but it didn't have the whole. That whole thing was about 20 minutes long. It didn't have everything leading up to it. It didn't have everything that happened after it. It was just a little clip.
And on news cameras and stuff like that, they don't understand that that was an escalation of something that might have started peacefully and is not ending that way.
What do you like least about working as an SRO? Don't say me.
Zoe? No. I guess because of the times, the media bias, all that stuff, any little situation is going to be blown out of proportion unless even if they have the full, we're kind of at a disadvantage for being at the schools as an SRO because of stuff that can be blown out way out of proportion, stuff like that.
You see it on the news, you see a lot of the minority groups saying, well, you're doing this just because of our race, or it's kind of a widespread issue, I guess, not really a concentrated thing.
We're in a tough situation, but we're here because we want to be here. But we're in a tough situation. If something happens, it can go really bad for us. At the same time, we're here because we want to help the kids out.
Most officers are there because they want to help. It's a real misnomer in the communities that the firefighters always get called when the good stuff's going on, or get to take you to the hospital and make you better and stuff like that, and the officers take you to jail or write you a ticket or something like that. So it's kind of like officers aren't usually called for birthday parties and celebrations, and usually when the cops show up, somebody's done something wrong.
We're not out there to hurt people. We're not out there to just abuse people. We're out there to help people. And that's why we got into this job to begin with.
I'm okay if I have to do something, or if I have to give up my life. I mean, that's what I mean by helping. Officers are there because they're willing to stand in between people.
What scares me the most about my job, and this is something that's probably changed over the years. When I was younger, I didn't really worry about it as much, but now that I have a family, kids that depend on me, my biggest fear would be that I wouldn't come home from work that day.
I think later on, when I realized that I had been walking into drug houses and walking down dark alleys behind drug houses in the middle of the night and not being scared then.
You know what scared me before is getting put in that same situation I got put in, and not having body cameras. Just because I knew it took forever. I did the right thing, but it took forever for that to get cleared up.
So what do you like most about working as an SRO?
That you get the opportunity to mentor some kids.
And what did you like about your job as a police officer?
Oh, goodness. Pretty much just being able to do something about things that I was seeing around me.
I think the public, I would wish they would look at the whole picture before passing judgment on people.
In this next video clip, we'll prove to you that people would appreciate the police more if they only understood the situations police deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Tonight at 9, he is one of the most outspoken critics of police use of force here in the Valley.
Well, tonight he gets a chance to experience the split-second decisions that police have to make when encountering a suspect.
And our Troy Hayden was right along with him tonight, getting the training as well.
It was a really interesting experience. You know, we've all watched those protests all over the country after police officers are accused of shooting people who aren't armed. But what would happen if one of those protesters felt what it's like to wear a badge and then be put in a life or death situation himself?
So I'm going to have you put the holster on right inside your belt loop there.
Jarrett Maupin gets his weapon. You might recognize him as a high-profile organizer in the minority community. Just last month, he led marches on Phoenix Police headquarters after an officer shot an unarmed man.
We want his badge. We want his gun. We want his job.
Today, he accepted an invitation to look at things from the other side, agreeing to go through a force-on-force training session with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. 3 scenarios where you have to decide to shoot or not shoot. Scenario 1 is a call about a man casing cars in a parking lot. Maupin approaches the man and starts asking questions.
Look. Where you have your hand in your gun? You're looking for your vehicle. What kind of car do you drive? Where you have your hand in your gun? What kind of car do you drive? This is my car, man.
Maupin, the officer, is shot. It happens that fast.
At what time did you think that it was time for you to address the use of force that was given?
When he came to the back of the vehicle, and was hiding, you know, I could sense something was wrong.
Scenario 2, a call of 2 men fighting.
What's going on today, gentlemen?
What's wrong with you?
What's going on today, gentlemen?
What do you want?
What's happening here?
What's wrong with
Back
you?
up.
Huh? What are you doing, man? Hey!
Hey, he shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me.
What happened in there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You just shot him?
Hey, he rushed me.
Tell me why you shot.
Well, I've shot because he was within that zone. You know, I felt there was an imminent threat. I didn't necessarily see him armed, but he came clearly to do some harm to the officer, to my person. It's hard to make that call. It shakes you up.
Again, an unarmed man was shot. Scenario 3, a call about a possible burglar walking down the street. Maupin gets him on the ground. He's not complying.
I need you to keep your hands up, sir.
For what?
Because I need to check that waistband.
Well, why? What are you doing,
Because I don't know what you have under there.
Everybody, look at this guy. What are you doing?
No shots fired, but the suspect did have a hidden knife in his waistband. I asked Maupin what his biggest takeaway from this exercise will be.
I didn't understand how important compliance was, but after going through this, yeah, my attitude has changed. This is all unfolding in 10 to 15 seconds. People need to comply with the orders of law enforcement officers for their own sake.
We understand that some police officers are corrupt. There are some that use excessive force simply as means of self-entertainment. There are some that murder in cold blood. There are some that are immoral, unjust, disgusting people. And that's never going to change. All human institutions will have their faults and failures. There will always be people and officers who are bad. But to paint the entire police force with the same tainted, misinformed brush is wrong. It's not right to generalize one group of people as evil. Instead of becoming violently outraged at the faults and wrongdoings of individual officers, instead of turning everything into a race issue, instead of rioting and shooting and attacking, let's take this opportunity to open up communications between the police and the public. Let's research and discover. Let's understand each other. Let's become one community, protected and served, peaceful and proud.